As always, there's way too much ish to watch out there. It's a brand new anime season and there is way too much to look through. So I went through 13 or 14 series and I explained them in 10 words or less to help you out. Stay until the end where I will be exploring some underrated series that need a lot more love and talking about series that are boring and you should probably skip. Let's start. Before we do, make sure to grab your cup because it's time to spill the anime tea. Fun fact, I actually had tea earlier. This is my second time recording this. First time my mic stopped working, and I'm very upset. Fall 2021 anime titles in 10 words or less. If you love pain, you're gonna love Mugen Train. It's Mappa and Madhouse and music and magical girls and everything that starts with an M. Reasonable adults don't want their children in danger. Surprise. Supernatural scam should be used to classify many other anime in the same category. Rit is there, and it's a slow-paced love story about life in the countryside. Erotic exorcism with more innuendo than yokai. The underrated gem of the season, much relatable, must watch. Thought this was gonna be a sports anime, but it's art. Gargura made a shark mecha anime, and it sucks. Ecchi horror comedy, ... Short adult ecchi series for my horn dogs since there's no World's End. A breath of fresh air compared to the overpolished anime of today. Marceline the Vampire Queen goes to space with Russian propaganda. Komi can't say shit to me because it's not out yet on Netflix. Thanks, Netflix. Before I get into the shows that I think deserve a little bit more extra explanation, make sure to like this video if you're enjoying it so far. Take a sip of tea, relax, chill out, listen to these recommendations, and find your fave or your not so fave. Let's do it. So I'm not going to talk about obvious hyped up series that everyone's probably going to watch anyway. So series like Platinum's End, because it's made by the creator of Death Note. Series like Takt Op Destiny, which is so hard to say. Why is the name so strange? Which is made by Mappa, so people are going to watch it automatically. And Demon Slayer, of course, because everyone's just going to watch Demon Slayer regardless. Let's start off with Heike. Is it Heike? I think it's Heike. Heike Story. Heike Story is a Funimation anime about this young girl who has heterochromia, which means that she has two different colored eyes. Think of Wonder Egg Priority. That seems to be a theme this year. In this story, it follows a young girl who can see into the future when she covers one of her eyes. The story is set in historical Japan. I'm not sure which era it is. I can't remember. But it has to do with this particular family that's kind of ruling a certain area of Japan and their possible downfall that the young girl is able to predict. Heike Story is a breath of fresh air because it's so different in terms of animation style and even story and context than a lot of the other anime out there. A lot of the anime of today tends to be more modern, futuristic type shows, whereas this one is more focused in the past, which is not too common. I mean, the last time that we had a notable anime like that was Demon Slayer, and that kind of blew up. So historical anime is worthy of watching. It's fun to see a series that just takes advantage of 2D animation and is not polished. It's more graphic and fluid. It kind of reminds me of Masaki Yuasa a little bit, but like a lot more toned down, like a way more toned down than Yuasa. My next favorite series, also on Funimation, is Erina the Vampire Cosmonaut. Again, Marceline goes to space, which is really cool concept. Anime has this cool way of like taking certain concepts that would never really work in any other medium. Like this could not work as a live action movie show or anything of the like. But in anime, a vampire that wants to go to space is just perfect. Erina is the vampire who works with the Russian government back in the Cold War era, which is in the 60s, I believe. When they were trying to rush to see who can get into space first. Russia put out a dog into space first, and then they were trying to put out the first human. But instead of putting a human, because it was too risky, they were going to send, in this specific anime, they're sending a vampire to see what she's gonna find and to relay information. And the vampire has some super connection to the moon and wanting to go there. And she also works with one of the other cosmonauts who will never be able to go into space because he caused some trouble where he attacked somebody. It hasn't gone that far in the series yet, so I don't know what happened. But it's super interesting. It's really lighthearted. The connection between the two main characters seems really sweet and wholesome. And I just want this vampire to go to space. She's kind of OP. She can do everything really well since she's a vampire. She does everything better than the cosmonauts. But there's one thing that holds her up. She has one hiccup, and that makes me love her even more because I love a character that has a flaw. Let's talk about The Night Beyond the Tri-Cornered Window. I don't know why this title is so complicated, but the show is perfection. Honestly, just homoerotic exorcism is the best way to describe this show. It follows a man who works at a bookstore. He can see ghosts when he takes off his glasses. So he's just like looking around like, oh shoot, that's a ghost. He has to put his glasses back on so he doesn't see them as well. One day an exorcist comes by and he like notices that he can see ghosts and he's like, oh, I can use you for my work. And the guy's like, but I don't want to. And he's like, I don't care. You're going to work with me. And then he like just takes him and then uses him for his work. And the best part of this show is the erotic undertones. Like every time that the person uses him, because he has to like touch him a certain way or something like that. Every time that happens, there's so much innuendo. And it's actually a great time. The main exorcist character is really funny. He doesn't know anything about boundaries, so he's kind of abrasive. For some reason, it has the lowest rating out of all of the newer anime that are appearing on Crunchyroll. This is a Crunchyroll show. And I don't know if it's from like Angry Fujoshi, who have read the manga or like the light novel or whatever kind of medium it came from and don't really like this adaptation from the first episode, or if it's from homophobes who just want to like bash the series. I really don't know what it is, because honestly, going into it blind, it's pretty good. My Senpai is Annoying is my favorite of the series. It is the most relatable one. We follow this 20-something office worker who is really short. She's like 4'11" or something. She's tiny, itty bitty. And she is a kohai, which basically means she is kind of like an under. In a lot of anime, kohais are like shown in high school. They're just like the underclassmen. Like if you think of the classes, there's like the first year and the second year. First year would be a kohai and the second year would be a senpai. So they have that kind of dynamic, but in the workplace. So she is a kohai, so she only has like 2 years of experience at the workplace, and she works under her senpai, who is a big, huge, buff, tall guy who has worked there for 3 or more years, I think. It honestly reminds me of Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, but without the nerdy stuff, which is kind of sad, but it's okay because it kind of focuses on just like real life, regular people. Like, you know, we got our short girls, we got our tall girls, we got our regular sized girls that they explore, and like the different dynamics that they have in the workplace, how people perceive them and things like that. The characters representing for all the short girls out there. I myself am only 5 feet barely. You probably can't tell from like me just sitting here all the time. But I love this, and I love this one scene from the anime, particularly in the first episode, where she and her senpai are walking to a sales meeting, and her senpai's like slowing down so that she can catch up. And then the girl's like, you don't have to slow down for me, I can catch up. And he's like, oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna walk regular. So he walks regularly, and he's super fast, and she has to run to catch up. And that's literally me every day. Like literally right now, I just went on a walk with my husband, and I had to run to catch up with him because I am slow. We have short legs. It takes us time. There's also Blue Period, which I just was super excited for, but not for the reasons that I initially thought. I initially believed that this was going to be a sports anime because I saw a bunch of like images and things of it, but I didn't really see what it was about. I didn't even look at the trailer. I kind of just went into it blind because I was really excited that Netflix finally put something on there without having to wait 6 months for it to come out. We get to watch it week by week on Netflix, which is really cool. They're supposed to do that with Komi, Can't Communicate as well, but it hasn't come out yet. Anyway, I thought it was a sports anime. I mean, look at the main character and his hair. It looks like a sports anime just from the main character. Future Phoenix put up an image where the main character from Blue Period and a main character from a sports anime, and then compare them. Anyway, I love that it ended up being about art. It's about this kid in high school. He's in the second year, and he kind of doesn't know what to do. He kind of isn't like being honest with himself and his friends and his family about like who he actually is, because he feels like he kind of has to fit in wherever he goes, until one day he sees one of his senpai's artworks in the classroom, and he's like amazed by it, and he feels the need to like express himself as well. So he starts drawing and painting. He's not very good at it, but he wants to try. And then all of a sudden, he joins the art club, and he's like, I think I'm going to go to school for this. Like, I want to continue this for the rest of my life. From like 2 weeks of just like practicing it. But I love that it explores like the dynamic and the thought process of like a student who loves art, may not be that good at art, but wants to try to get into art and wants to try to like, you know, be something and do something in art, trying to convince your family that you want to continue on with this when they're like, you won't make any money doing this, when a lot of YouTube artists would disagree. But it talks about the practicality of it, and it's just really poignant and relatable, especially for all my high school and college students right now who are in art or have art degrees, or people who have gone through school and have gone an art degree like myself, okay, let me quickly talk about some anime that you probably want to steer clear of if that's not your jam. I'm gonna say Ganbare Doki-chan is only like a 5-minute, really ecchi series. So if you're not looking for anything horn dog related, if you're not looking for any ecchi, hentai-ish type shows, don't watch that because it's not for you. It's literally just a short kind of hentai show that they censored on Crunchyroll. Meruko-chan is like, it's spooky, but it's not at the same time. It's really more of an ecchi series. Honestly, it's almost on the same level as Ganbare Doki-chan, but it's longer and has more ghosts and yokai. It's strange because the pacing is actually pretty good, but it's just the tone of it is weird because it's just like this girl who sees ghosts and she's trying to ignore them. So there's these awkward pauses kind of when she's like trying to ignore the ghosts, and the ghosts are just like, can you see me? She's like, I'm right here in your face. And she's like, nah. And then that's basically the entire show. What I did think was clever about the show though is that with my little itty bitty knowledge of Japanese, the main character's name is Meruko-chan, and then to see, I think, or to look at in Japanese is Meru, and the ghosts always say like, can you see me? So it's like, you know, Meru something. So I thought that was a clever like play on words. Other than that, the ghosts are drawn very scarily, and I did get a little bit frightened by them, but the show itself, it's kind of plain. Banished from the hero party, so I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside is just light novel titles, I swear. It is so meticulously boring that I want to give it a try because I feel like it's a slow burn. There's this like main girl character and main guy character, and they're kind of living together in the countryside, or like it seems like that's what they're going to do. But the first 2 episodes are just read like a light novel. There's so much information and backstory that's just not interesting for me to get into, even though many people have said to watch this. So I'm so sorry to anyone who has said that. I'm giving it a try. I'm going to give it the 3-episode rule. If nothing incredible happens in the 3rd episode, I might drop it unless someone tells me otherwise. So if you watch this or if you read the light novel, please tell me if I should stick around or not, because Jesus Christ, it's boring. I'm so sorry. Overall, don't keep up with every single anime in every single season. It's never worth it. It's never worth your time. That's why I watched 13 of these shows. I was gonna watch 14, but Komi Can't Communicate didn't come out yet because of Netflix, so that you don't have to. Just remember to watch what you wanna watch, skip the rest, break the mold, look for directors and series that maybe you never heard of, or maybe that you've enjoyed in the past that maybe don't get a lot of love. Of course, watch the hype ones if you want to watch the hype ones, like no one's dogging you for that. That's always fun to talk about with other people as well. But try out studios and try out original anime that's not based off a reference so that you can have a more enjoyable time without getting spoiled by manga people or light novel people, or, you know, having to rely on a series being just like its reference material. If you want more anime recommendations, I suggest you go watch this video next. And thank you for watching this one. My name is Phoenix. This has been the Anime Tea, and I hope you have a good time. Drink some tea, watch your favorites. Don't get too scared this spooky season, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.